What is up, guys? Lone Hawk here today, and welcome back to Overwatch. In today's video, we're going to help you help yourself as I teach you how to analyze your own statistics. I realized the other day that I won't be able to make a Coach Hawk episode for all of you, or probably not even 1% of you. So I'm going to be teaching you today how to analyze your statistics, that way you know what you need to improve on without my help. So head over to masteroverwatch.com and enter your battle tag or your username if you're on a console, and let's get started. Before you do anything else, be sure you're looking at your competitive statistics and not your quick play ones, because most people don't take quick play very seriously. We'll just start top down explaining these stats and how you should be using them. We'll start with the area that has your skill rating, your region ranking, your win-loss, and your win rate. You know how I recommend using this area? I don't. This area is kind of just there to tell you how you're doing. It doesn't really give you any analysis as to what you can be doing to improve, and it really only discourages players. If you see your win rates below 50%, it really just bothers most people. A lot of people don't really like that, so I recommend ignoring this section. Whatever it says, honestly, there's not much you can get out of this. This is only here to give you numbers as to how you're doing. It won't help you get better, so I really recommend just kind of ignoring it. The section you're going to want to focus on is the overall performance section that's right below that. Here you'll find your eliminations, KD, damage, blocked damage, healing, and medals all earned per minute. The key to this video, though, isn't just showing you how to see your statistics, it's how to take them and use them to make you a better player. How to analyze them, in other words. So on screen right now, you can see my statistics, and we're going to analyze them as if I were someone else. I'm just going to pretend like I'm you. I want to get better. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Let's look at my statistics. So my eliminations are 2.65 and my KD is 2.82. I recommend using these two statistics together because eliminations without KD ratio doesn't really tell you a lot. So I average 2.65 eliminations per minute and 2.82 kills per death. So what can we get from this? What does this actually mean? Well, I recommend that you guys don't look at the percentages below the statistics. For one, those are pretty misleading. If you're a rank 30 player and it says you're top 1% in eliminations, that's misleading because you're top 1% in eliminations because you're playing against other rank 30 players who are admittedly pretty bad. So don't think you're the top 7% in the game just because it says top 7% there. Once you get above rank 60, I think this becomes very accurate, but if you're below rank 60, I recommend ignoring the percentages and just looking at the numbers. What I've discovered in my research is there's really no set number of eliminations you need to be at to be a good player. They generally increase as players get better. Higher rank players will have higher eliminations per minute. That's just because they play a lot more aggressively. A lot of high-level players push harder, they make smarter decisions, and they really know how to get kills efficiently. So a higher eliminations per minute is good, but you really need to compare it to KD to really get anything out of it. And right now, I'm not happy with my KD statistic. This is why I want you to ignore the percentage. Top 15% seems like a pretty good KD, but from my research, I've concluded that the best players have a KD ratio that's about 50% higher than their eliminations per minute ratio. And the eliminations per minute actually varies greatly among these high-level players. But what remains consistent is the fact that their KD ratio is almost always 50% or more than their eliminations per minute ratio. So what can we gather from this? Well, if you're like me and your eliminations per minute ratio isn't too far off your KD ratio, or your KD ratio is really low, it means you really need to play a little bit safer. You need to think about your decisions more often. One thing I find myself doing very frequently that I think is the cause of this is trying to go for kills that I know will get me killed. In other words, I know I'm going to be able to kill someone, but I also know I'm going to die in the process. You need to get out of the habit of one-for-oneing the enemy team. One-for-ones are often considered okay or decent because guess what? You killed someone and they killed you, so it's even, right? Well, no, if you want to get better and you actually want to improve, you can't settle for even because that means, well, you're dead, you're relying on the rest of your team. We don't want to do that. We want to be out there carrying the team. So don't die, don't go for 1v1s, and if your KD isn't a lot higher than your eliminations stat, try to play a little bit safer from now on. Hopefully, it'll make you a better player. Now, the opposite can also happen. You can have really low eliminations per minute and a very high KD. This just means you have to do the opposite of what I just told the people that have the opposite problem. It means you need to be playing more aggressively and getting into the battle more often. That way you make a difference. Stop worrying about dying so much and start worrying about killing some enemies. Now the next statistic is going to change depending on which category of hero you play. If you play a DPS hero, it's going to be higher, and if you're a support main, it's going to be lower. For people who play assault heroes, defense heroes, or the two greedy tanks in the game, those being Roadhog or Zarya, I recommend having a damage between 1000 and 1100 per minute. If you're above 1000, you're pretty much good, but if you're under 1000, we're going to want to do something to change that. Quite often, this problem can be solved simply by firing more often. A lot of people don't shoot at targets they don't think they can kill, targets that are far away, they really just don't care. If you're playing someone that can deal damage, any damage at medium to long ranges or at any range, you should be shooting at people if you can see them. This will bring up your damage a lot and will help your team a lot more than you think. You don't really realize it, but when you deal small amounts of damage to enemies and your teammates all deal small amounts of damage to enemies, you're actually kind of piling up a lot of damage, which can help you secure some kills you wouldn't have gotten had you all not shot at that person you didn't think you could kill. So if this statistic is low, I recommend trying to shoot at enemies more often. Now I also must note, you really shouldn't worry about your damage statistic until you have your KD and your eliminations per minute in line. Otherwise you can't really tell what you're doing. So get those first two in line and then worry about your damage. Those first three statistics are the most important, but we'll still cover the last three very briefly. The blocked damage statistic is pretty useless in my opinion, because it's only high when you main Reinhardt. All the other tanks in the game can block damage, but they don't block nearly as much as Reinhardt's shield, so this statistic's going to be pretty low for them, and I really wouldn't worry about it. The healing statistic is kind of like the blocked damage statistic, except it only applies to supports. If you play Lucio or Mercy, you're going to have a higher healing statistic than anyone else in the game, but I wouldn't really try to derive anything from this because it's just another statistic that shows which heroes you play, because they're the only two real healers in the game, so I wouldn't really look at this or try to derive anything from this. Your medals per minute is somewhat more important, but not really. Your medals per minute statistic is useful because it shows how much you're contributing to the team, but it's also not useful because it doesn't tell you how you're contributing to the team. What you should be doing instead of looking at this statistic is after every game, look to see how you could have gotten more medals. If you didn't have a lot of time on the objective, ask yourself why. Were you not a tank? Were you not being a team player? Or was it actually your role to be the flanker and the disruptor? That will help you a lot more than the medal stat. That concludes how to analyze statistics today. There are a lot more on the page, I'm aware, but I don't really have time to go over them all in this video. So if you want me to tell you how your statistics should look for every hero you play, ask down below, but keep in mind there's no guarantee I'm going to respond because I usually get a lot of comments. Hopefully you all enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like down below. And one more reminder to you all, I'll be gone for like 4 days, so there won't be videos because I didn't have time to prepare ahead. See you guys all later. Lone Hawk out.